All right, so I'm just going live here. All right, it's loading.
Okay. And this resource that Sheila shared, I'll change it.
Yeah.
Had a really good weaving video at the end that make it. And so if you're able to share that in the chat, that may be a good resource to share as well.
Is it the Arts of Asia?
Yeah.
Got it. All right, so we are live. I'm just letting people know in the chat that we'll be starting in a few minutes.
Okay.
The chat is working, yay. It's been so hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, do you have that resource handy? Do you want to just drop a link in this chat? I can find it otherwise, but okay.
I just did.
Oh, you're ahead of me. Perfect. All right, I've dropped that link in the chat. We have a few people on with us, but we'll just wait a little bit longer.
Okay.
And I'm just letting everyone know I'm writing in the chat right now, but I'll be available to answer any questions and monitor the chat. Good morning. We have a few more people streaming in and out, but I say let's give it a few more minutes. Okay, well, it's about 10:05 and we have a few more people streaming in and out, but if we get a big influx of people, Laura, I will let you know and you can kind of reintroduce what's going on. But I think for now we can go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Art School. I'm Angela Olson. I'm the Studio Programs Associate, and here today is Laura Wennstrom to lead us in an art school project today. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Laura. I'm gonna turn my video and sound off, but feel free to use the chat function. If anything comes up, I'll pop in and I'll relay your questions to Laura. But with that, I will let you go ahead.
All right, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Laura Wennstrom, and I'm coming to you live today from my home studio in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have the sun shining in. It's going to be a beautiful, almost spring day. Today, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We are talking about, let me get the right window up here. We're going to be talking about an exhibition that's happening at MIA, at the Minneapolis Institute of Art. And here we go. We're going to be talking about an exhibition of baskets, and we're going to be talking about weaving and talking about textiles today. This is really exciting for me because I am an artist who loves to work with fabric and different textiles. And before we get into the meat, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about who I am and the kind of art I make, and why the exhibition we're looking at today online is so exciting. So today, just as a brief introduction, we'll say hi. I'd love to hear where you are coming from. So if you want to tell me maybe what grade you're in and what city you live in, that would be really fun for me to hear. You can write that in the chat. And we're going to be looking at the MIA exhibition. We'll have a short discussion about some of the work. And then we're going to be doing, actually, I'm going to show you how to do 2 different projects today. We have 45 minutes. So the first, this is a project that I made a few years ago. I'm an artist who works with textiles. That means fabric. And I sometimes make really big sculptures. And traditionally, textile work has been smaller. It's been more like quilts or clothing. And I like to make big works. This is a kind of a sculptural installation, a piece that took up a space in a room. That is made out of cut felt, and it was lit in a certain way. So the felt, when the light passes through all these shapes that are based on drawings that I made, it made all these beautiful shadows all over the room. And when I was thinking about making this work, I was thinking about a little bit like a vessel, like a bowl. And this piece has a little bit of a shape like a bowl, and it has lots of colors. And this is another piece that I made titled House Hunting, and it's based on all of these textiles that I got from people from the thrift store that came from other people's houses. So I made these kind of tents that are house frames, just using PVC pipe, and quilted all of these different fabrics together. So old tablecloths and curtains and bed sheets to make these almost like lanterns, and I put a light inside of each one. I'm really inspired by if you're out at night and you're walking around or driving around the city and you can kind of peek into people's windows. I think that's a really interesting experience. So I was thinking about what happens on the inside of houses of other people that we maybe don't know, and I made 10 of these. This is an exhibition. This is another installation that was made using all kinds of different kinds of fabric. And again, it creates kind of a shape that we'll be talking about today. And this is mostly made out of fabric and foam tubes, and it hangs from the ceiling. It was really big. And then this is a more recent piece that uses weaving, and we're going to talk about weaving today. And this is a little artwork that I made that is an old pot holder that you would use for your oven. and some orange, like I got a package of oranges and I used that netting because it has the X sort of pattern on it. And I used which is something you could definitely do yourself. And I used some thread and some yarn to weave in and out of that threading to make a little weaving, and I sewed it onto this pot holder. Okay, so the artwork, and if you have questions at any point, please just put them in the chat and Angela can relay them to me.
Angela here, just letting you know, we've got some people answering your questions in addition to us from Minneapolis. Here, we've also got some folks joining us from Rochester, which is pretty exciting.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk about, there's a new exhibition that's opening at MIA actually next week on March 11th. And the museum is open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And if you make a reservation in advance on the website, you can go check out this exhibition. And so it's called Unexpected Turns, Women Artists and the Making of American Basket Weaving Traditions. And this exhibition is kind of in honor of Women's History Month, which is March. And so during the month of March, we celebrate some of the wonderful artworks that women have made. And it shows basket weaving tradition that is contemporary. So artists who are alive and working today, and also the artworks of artists who have died a long time ago. And so there's traditional tradition, like a traditional way of making work, some from indigenous women, and then contemporary artists who have taken those traditions and kind of put their own artistic spin on them. So I have a few images to share with you today. Whoops. I feel like I skipped a slide. Whatever, that's okay. We'll find it later. So this is a basket we're going to be talking about today. And it was made by, I'm missing a slide. That's okay. It was made, now I don't remember the artist's name, but we'll find it later. I would like you to discuss with the people around you what you see when you look at this basket. What colors do you see? What shapes do you see? And if you were to touch this basket, what would it feel like? So I'll give you a minute and you can write in the chat if you would like to do that, or you can just discuss with the people around you. Okay, I know there's a little bit of delay between me and YouTube, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I see when I look at this basket. It's a round basket, and I see that it is tan and kind of either a dark brown or a black with some whitish shapes on it. And I see kind of a zigzag shape made out of triangles. So I see some repeated zigzag shapes, and the basket has a top. And this artist, whose name we will probably find later in this presentation, is known for making her basket handles a certain way. They look a little bit like a doorknob to me. So this basket has a top, and this basket was made in 1920, 101 years ago. And if you were to touch this basket, what do you think it would feel like? I think it would feel both kind of smooth and bumpy at the same time. And it reminds me a little bit of a snake, like a boa constrictor, the patterning on that snake. I don't know if that's how the artist was inspired, but it makes me think a little bit of a snake, and the way that some of those zigzags pattern shows up, it could be like a zigzag. Something else to notice about this basket is it has really fine details. All of those little the weaving, the in and out of this basket is very small. So this is a very intricate, and it probably took the artist a very long time to make. Something kind of interesting about this basket is that the materials that it's made out of is porcupine quills, maidenhair fern, and lichen, which is a kind of bark that grows on a tree. And I don't know at all how the artists used these materials to make this basket, but I think it's kind of interesting to say that most traditional baskets are made out of natural materials. That means like sticks, or usually kinds of grasses, like long grasses. And when they're green, when you first pick them, they're pretty flexible. And so the maker will make a basket out of these flexible grasses. And then as they dry out, then the basket has a little bit more structure.
Laura, I just wanted to let you know that we also have some educators joining us from CAM, which I believe is the Krannert Art Museum in Illinois, I think. Somebody named Walter Wilson says that they're joining from CAM.
Awesome. Hello to the Krannert Art Museum in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. Okay, and so this, I was going to say something else, but now I don't remember, so that's okay. This is another basket that is in part of Mia's collection that is also probably in the exhibition. Because the exhibition hasn't opened yet, I haven't seen it, so we're going to hope that this is in the exhibition. This is by an artist named Josie Robinson, and she actually made 2 different baskets that Mia has in their collection. This one is called a sewing basket, and it is made out of wood, sweetgrass, and something called a wigub, which I don't know what that is. My guess is it's an indigenous name for a certain kind of plant. And you can see that the artist has used lots of different weaving techniques to make beautiful textures. And this is a basket that has a lid on it as well. And it's a sewing basket. I have a basket for my sewing materials, but it does not look like this. It's actually a pencil case. And then this is called a shopping basket. And I think of, if you ever go to the store and you pick up a plastic basket at the front instead of using a cart, it's a little bit like this. And again, it's made by Josie Robinson. And the handles were made by somebody else. And this is made out of black ash, which I believe is a kind of tree. And has a little decorative flower. So it was made in 1955. Another basket that is in Mia's collection is by an artist named Elaine Small. And so this one is late 20th century. And it is called Volcano on Bead Mountain. And this basket is made by thousands of little tiny beads and waxed linen, which is a kind of string. And it is so beautiful and intricate. And you notice that this one has less of a traditional shape where you would put things in this basket. This basket functions maybe more as a sculpture, or as an artwork. That's meant to be something just beautiful to admire instead of being something functional that you would use every day. This is a artwork by Mary Giles. This is a more contemporary piece, and this one's made out of linen and steel. And so the base of the basket is more traditionally soft, like rope, and then it has all of these hammered metal, almost like fringes or tassels kind of hanging out of it. And on the inside, it's a little bit tricky to see. She's decorated the inside with little metal people, men on the inside, made out of steel as well. Kind of interesting. This basket is made by an artist named Fern Jacobs, and it's called Sculpture with Hebrew Letters, and it was made in 1983. So again, this artist is probably alive today, and it's made out of linen. And so this, again, has a less traditional basket use. I think now, as we can make baskets out of plastic or in a factory, we have less need for artists who spent tons and tons of hours making traditional baskets. And then this is one last basket I'm going to show you that is in Mia's collection. This is by an artist named Carol Hetzel, and it is made out of plant fibers, pigment, and steel. So the plant fibers were painted orange. And you can see that it has some steel cables down here that you would maybe find at the hardware store. So this artist is from 2000, this basket's from 2005, and it's a blending of the traditional and the contemporary. So you can see the first baskets we looked at were a little bit more traditional. And then as we're getting more contemporary, the artists are expanding and changing what a basket could be. And they're making kind of like art baskets instead of baskets that we would use every day. Okay, and we're going to be doing 2 projects. And while we kind of transition, I want you to like look around you and look at the containers you have around you in your house or in the room that you're in. And you know, what are you putting things in, and what is the material that those things are made out of? Because I think it's something that I've been thinking about this morning. Do I have any natural baskets in my house? Do I have other kinds of baskets that are maybe made out of other materials? And we're going to be making 2 projects. We're going to be making kind of a basic paper weaving, and we'll just talk about the basics of weaving. And then a little bit more advanced project is we're going to be making a woven circle as well. So if anybody has any questions at this point about the artwork, now would be a great time to ask. And then one thing I want to talk about too is all weaving has, or textiles have, what's called a warp and a weft. And I just liked this diagram because it helps me remember. A warp goes up and down and the weft goes horizontally. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. And then the difference, I just want to show you this too before I move out of my presentation. The difference between a flat weaving and a basket is a flat weaving stays flat. If you think about fabric, like the shirt you're wearing has been woven probably by a machine in a factory, has been woven using thread, and it lays flat, and then someone sews it into like a shirt. But when we're making a basket, we start with a flat weaving, and then the artist will kind of curve it up, and it will have sides as well. So we're going to be doing flat weavings today, but that's kind of the connection between a flat weaving and a basket. Okay. And again, if you have questions at any point, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay. So I will be showing you what we're going to do today. So for this project, the first project, you're going to need paper. This is just a piece of construction paper. And then you're going to need some paper strips. And these can be any color, any size, any type of paper. If you don't have construction paper, you could use computer printer paper, or even an old magazine or some junk mail, any kind of paper you want. And I'm going to close my curtain for just a second so that you don't have a glare. Okay, that might be a little better. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is you're going to take your piece of paper and you're going to fold it in half. And on the, did I finish telling you your supplies you need? I don't think I did. You need paper. You need paper and strips. And then you're going to need scissors. And you're going to need maybe a glue stick or tape. You don't really need this, but this is kind of helpful. But you for sure need scissors. And maybe like a pen or a pencil or something to help you mark. Here comes the weaving. So you're going to start with a piece of paper and you're going to fold it in half. I folded mine the hamburger way. And then I drew this in advance, but you're going to, on the fold edge, you're going to just draw some straight lines about a finger width apart. About an inch apart. They don't have to be perfect. One of the beautiful things about weaving is that they are handmade and every basket is totally unique. And so you're going to draw as many lines as will fit on your page, and then you're going to cut on those lines. I'll see if I can do it at my computer. And you're going to stop about an inch from the edge, because if you cut all the way through, you'll just cut your piece of paper off, and that's not going to be helpful. So right now we're making one way of that paper. We're making, like, I think it was, I don't remember now, I think, was it the warp, that we're making the vertical way. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut all of these lines. And traditionally, people used thread or different kinds of fibers to weave, and we're going to use paper because it's accessible to us. Okay, so I've got my paper that is cut like this, and you see how I cut on the fold. And then I'm going to just flip it over so I can get rid of those. I'm going to just flatten out my seam, and I'm going to flip it over so I can get rid of my marker lines. All right, so now I have my paper strips, and you can start with, I just have two colors. I have purple and orange, so I can go every other. So the main thing about weaving is you're going to go every other. You're going to go over, under, over, under, over, under, and then you're going to go under, over, okay? So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to start going, oh, it doesn't matter which way you start, but you go over, under, and you're going to just push your paper all the way through. You will have better luck if you do it on a flat surface. And let me tell you, this is something that's tricky, and it gets easier the more you do it. So there, I have my first row. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little bit of glue on my tabs so that they don't fall apart, okay? So like that. And then I'm going to actually just flip it over. The cool thing about this too is it will essentially be double-sided. You don't usually make a double-sided artwork, but I'm going to remember that the front is right here. Okay, now I'm going to take my other piece of paper, and this time I started with over last time, and if I line that up, that tells me, oops, that's not the right way. And so I'm going to start with over this time, and I'm going to do the opposite of what I did before. So I'm going to go, and sometimes it's easier to work down low and then kind of scoot your paper up at the end. It's hard to talk and think under, over at the same time. Oopsies. So like that, and then I'm going to kind of slide it up. And so do you see how it begins to make a pattern? And this is the basic weaving technique. We're going to be making kind of a checkerboard. So I'm going to glue my edges down just so you could tape your edges, staple them, or you didn't have to. It helps it be a little stronger. Like that. Okay. Next, okay, I'm back to purple, and I went under last time, so this time I'm going to go over. You can start working if you have your materials and just kind of have me going in the background here. So there's this. Okay, so you're going to fill up your whole, and I'm going to glue it. You're going to fill up your whole page, and when you filled up your whole page, then you're done. Okay, so that is the first kind of technique. And once you've mastered this technique, then we can go on to the next project, okay? The other project we're going to be doing, actually, before we do that, I wanted to show you a few woven things that I found, or a few things around my house that are baskets that are woven. I have a straw basket that is from the store. I don't even know if it's handmade or not, maybe. And it has a spiral design and then it comes up. So this is made out of a natural material, some kind of grass. I spilled wax on it, so it has a stain, but it's made out of some kind of natural material like grasses or reeds or vines or something. I also had another basket that I noticed. This one is just made out of felt. It's made out of 3 pieces of felt sewn together, and it has handles and it functions as a basket. But this is an example of how modern technology is helping us. And then look at this. I even have this basket that's made out of plastic, but it's designed to look like weaving. That's kind of silly. And then I wanted to show you this. This is a piece of fabric that's called burlap. And burlap is a loosely woven fabric. Usually it's brown, but for whatever reason, mine's hot pink. And you can see the little fibers. This is maybe the warp. It goes this way, and I can kind of take it apart, and you can see the different parts of it. So just, I want you to be paying attention the next day or so. Pay attention to your surroundings and see if you can notice some things that are woven or some things that some containers. Another idea, I'm wearing this sweater that has kind of a loose knit, or maybe it's crocheted or something, but you can see the individual cotton yarn that was made to make this sweater. So this is something that is woven loosely. Okay, project number 2. We're going to be making a circular weaving like this. And I'm going to show you, I obviously am not finished with mine. And this one takes a little bit longer and is definitely more tricky. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by your paper weaving, just watch me, and you're maybe not ready to try this one, and that's okay. So for this one, you need a piece of cardboard, or even a paper plate would work. And you are also, glare on me, you're also gonna need some string. So here's my piece of cardboard that I cut out already. And then you're also gonna need some string or some yarn. I have a whole collection. Here's just some average yarn. I have some fabric strips that are cut up. So a cool thing about weaving is that you can recycle things into a weaving. And there's some other pieces of fabric. I have an old shoelace that was broken that we could use, and some different kinds of thread. So you can collect anything, any color you want. And I went ahead and I marked little notches with just a marker about 1 inch or 2 apart on the top, on the edges of my circle. And to get this beautiful, perfect, not really perfect circle, I traced a plate on an old cardboard box that I had. So I had this plate. I said, that's a great size. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut these notches. And you only need to go, whoops, I can't see that very well. You only need to go about 1/2 inch. So you're going to go all the way around. I have 15 notches. I don't know that that's a magic number, but. And if you're a kid and you're using a safety scissors, you might need a grown-up to help you cut the cardboard because it's a little bit stiff sometimes. One of the things I like about this project is that it uses recycled materials like that. Okay, so we have our thing like this. All right. And now I'm going to take, I have this white yarn. I'm going to take the longest piece and I'm going to wrap it around this is going to be my loom. A loom is the sort of surface that you are going to be making your weaving on. So I'm going to just hook it in, and this tail here, I can just tape. I have a little bit of tape here. I can just tape that to the back, and that's out of my way like that. So I'm going to go all the way across, and I'm going to find the one, there's not really perfect here. I'm going to find the one that's across and tuck it in that notch. And I'm going to go behind on the back, and I'm going to go one over like that. And I'm going to like that. Angela is going to link, there's a link that talks more about weaving and technology from Mia, and it has a really cool, another way you could do a weaving. There's a video that's like 2 or 3 minutes long that someone at Mia made. There's another weaving technique. If you're really into this, you could learn another way to weave. And she will.
Yep, I'll drop it in the chat right now. I've got it up there earlier, but I'll put it in again so that people can find it easily.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. And for some reason, I have an odd number of things. So I'm actually going to just ignore this notch here. And I'll tape it in the back like that. Get my tape. Okay, so now this is what yours should look like. And so you have this sort of star. It's not perfect, and that's okay. This is an experiment. And I'll use this piece of green string so you could see. So just like our last one, we're going to do over and under. So I'm going to start at 1. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this is kind of the trickiest part, getting started. And I'm actually going to tie this. You could probably tape it too. I'm going to just tie it to the center here so it doesn't walk away from me. And I'm going to go over. And then I'm going to come over here and go under on the next one. And then I'm going to go over. And under. And if you make a mistake and you catch it right away, you can take out your string and fix it, or you can just keep going. And this is a good learning opportunity. And like anything, weaving takes a lot of practice. And because it's pretty tedious, you get a lot of practice while you're making it. Tedious means there's lots of steps. I like to do these kinds of projects while I'm doing something else. While I'm watching TV or listening to a podcast. That's what I like about these kinds of projects is you can I have little kids. I can kind of hang out with my kids and do this at the same time over. And now I'm getting mixed up. Okay, so I made it all the way around and I had to cheat a little bit. I had to skip one, but I'm just going to keep going. So I went under over. So now I'm going to go, and your first time around, you can kind of see mine. It doesn't look like much, so don't worry. Now I'm going to go over, under, over, under, all the way around. Over, under, over, under. Okay, etc. I'm going to go one more time around. And I made a mistake somehow, so I'm actually going to have to go under. Wait, nope, I didn't. Under. It's hard to talk and think at the same time. Over, under. I mixed up. Under. Okay, now this one. Over, over. So if you're having a hard time, you're not alone. Okay. Under, over. Okay, now I see what I did wrong. So basically you just have to do the opposite of whatever you did last time. So you can see it's starting to get a little bit more, and it takes a while. It takes a while, so you got to be patient. And at any point, if you want to switch your string color, you run out of string, you can just do it. One idea would be to sew your 2 pieces of string together, or no, sorry, not sew them, tie them together. Another idea would be to just let the end hang out. I'll show you what I mean by that. I think that I have a even number. I think this, never mind. Okay, I'm just going to switch to a different one just to show you. So I've got this, and then I'm going to switch to pink. And the thicker material you use, the faster it's going to go. So a really skinny, fine thread is going to take you a long time, but this thicker fabric will go a little bit faster. So I'm going to start with under, over. And again, you can work it up here. Over, under, over, under. Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left. And so you can kind of just keep all of that. You have some work time. And if you finish one of your projects, we would love to see a picture of it. And Angela had put in the chat where you can email a picture of your finished project, because this is the fun part of art school, is that there's people all over doing art school together. So
yeah, I'll put this information in the chat, but I'll also say it here because I'm not sure if the recorded video shows the chat function or not. So you can email your artwork to youthprograms@artsmia.org, or if you're on Instagram or Facebook, you can take a picture of it and you can label it with the hashtag ArtsMia, and then it will show up in Mia's feed. So those are 2 ways that you can share it. I'll also put that in the chat as well.
awesome. And these art school talks are going to be archived on the website as well. So if you loved it, you can go share it with somebody else at a later time. We can meet asynchronously. So now I'm going to switch to, I ran out of pink fabric, so I'm going to switch to this blue fabric. And you'll notice my fabric is kind of a wonky shape, and I think it's going to be okay. Can I just say that I'm really glad that we have enough technology where we do not have to weave our own clothing before we sew it ourselves. A long time ago, that's what people did. Every item of clothing they had to make the fabric, and then they had to sew the fabric, and that is a lot of work. And you probably only had one thing to wear, or maybe 2, one nice thing and one. So anyway, we have a different relationship with cloth and fabric now because it is able to be made using technology, and baskets as well. So something to think about. And traditionally, it's women are the people who did all of the weaving and sewing and fabric and basket making. And the men were off, I don't know, hunting and protecting. So it's kind of an interesting tradition. And absolutely there are men who weave baskets, but it's traditionally something that's just done by women. So you can see my piece is a little wonky, and that's okay. We're all just practicing how to weave. I don't do this every day, so, but you'll notice it's getting a little easier as I go because I'm getting better at it. Practice makes perfect, right? Okay. So I think that is, Angela, do you have other announcements that you need to make? But otherwise we are about at time, and I'll keep doing this, but.
No other announcements. Sorry, I'm just trying to start my video here. No other announcements over here on my end. We can go ahead and wrap up. So thanks, Laura, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Art School. Laura will be here again next month doing another art activity inspired by works in the collection. Meanwhile, if you go to artsmia.org, you can check out all of our different art school offerings. We do one every week, kind of geared toward a different audience, but anybody can participate in any of them. And this month, we're focusing on women's history. So feel free to check back. These videos are archived, like Laura said, so you can always check out our YouTube channel to look back at other activities. So thank you very much.